Great. Thank you very much, Mindy. I appreciate your help. So let's see. Let's do the tooling first. So if you have a question, you need to click on what, Mindy? Q&A?
Yes, the Q&A.
Okay, so folks, as we're presenting, this is conversational. So if you have questions, please feel free to click on the Q&A, type your question, and Vicki or Mindy should catch it, and we'll be watching along the way to be able to process the questions as things progress. We will, at the end, we will provide you the PowerPoint slides. So there's two sets of slide decks here. So if you need to take notes, you don't need to write down what we have in front of you. We'll get that to you. Excuse me, just to let you know. So this is our fourth in a series of our Lunch and Learns. We had the last few weeks, we've had, last week we had Tech Warrior Enterprise, so we pulled John back to join us for just a few minutes. John, you're more than welcome to stay the whole time. But we asked John to join us because he presented with Tech Warrior Enterprise in the demo program. And so we're going to turn it over to him in just a minute to let him give us an update on how we're doing. Wanting to let you know that as we go forward, next week we have Air Force SBIR Contract Director, Kim Yoder. Bill and I were fortunate to be able to sit in on their training several months ago, and Kim did a fantastic job. So we're looking forward to hearing from her and speaking to us about SBIR in general, and specifically with Air Force, where they're headed and what she sees in her experience with contracts. Then Sharp Hub will be the week after. We've got a new one. Based on the fact that what Gary's doing today, we thought we'd follow up on that. We have EMP Shield, one of our Encountering Innovation clients, who will be talking about his road to success through it, the Encountering Innovation. So you don't want to miss that one. Then after that, our Let's Play Ball right before the conference with PTAC that will be joining us. Then the conference week, we're busy with the conference, and then we will be circling the wagons coming up after the conference. So that's our what's coming. I want to remind you, make sure I'm not being tagged for something here. You should have, if you're an Encountering Innovation applicant for 2020, you should have your quad chart, your information paper, your pitch deck, and your poster board. If you do not, that should be because you just applied in the last day or so. So if you're missing, if you're going, I don't have it, then you need to double check because you should have those. So that's the first thing we want to do, is remind you that we have sent out those papers, those documents. Your next step first is to confirm your TRL with your tech coach and to begin editing your documents. So we want you to realize that that's your next step. And then remember, whether you're a pitch and poster or just a poster board only, these documents are important to you because when you go to the conference, when the Tech Scout has interest in you, they will request these documents. So we want you to go ahead, once you're told, informed that you're a poster board only, we want you to realize that these documents are still important to you. So please work through to prepare them. In addition to that, just for us, when we're working with you, the first thing we want to do is have these documents as well. Bill has become quite an expert at being able to read through the quad chart and the information paper to where when someone has an interest in you, with your permission, we share those documents to others to make the communication standard to where they can then study about your technology in a very effective manner. All right. Oh, yes.
Somebody wants to know when candidates will be notified of their acceptance or denial to pitch.
Bill, where are you at with that? Have we told anyone? I'm yelling at you like you're in.
Bill, you're on mute. There you go.
Okay. I have gone through and on the first 38 that we have, or the first, 38 that we have, I pulled out the ones that are for sure pitches, and they should be notified soon, within the next day or so. That would be in Vicky's court, where Vicky's got a whole lot going on right now. And then possible the other ones we're going to wade through them pretty quickly here in the next week or so. We got to make that decision and nail it down. So you have pretty soon.
So one of our updates for you is we have Defense Works will be attending the conference, the Chief Technology Officer, Brad Chedister, and he is representing, if not bringing with him, several program managers and program executive officers. So we're very excited about his attendance. Because he's attending, we are reaching out to some of our clients from the last 3 years based on that matchup. So although we are slow in giving you information, we are working hard to elevate the conference and make it even better. This is something we've been working towards over the last couple of years. So that's a good addition to the program, as well as Tech Warrior with what they're doing with our demo. With that in mind, I want to turn this over to John to ask him to give us an update. John, do you have like 40 scheduled for next week?
Well, I would love to say I have 40 scheduled for next week. So to tie back into what Alan and Bill were just saying, if you are not sure if you're selected, go in and sign up, and then we'll let you know if you need to cancel that time. All right. So if that's what's your hold up, and let's reassure you, submit, get in there, and then we'll disqualify you if you're not. Disqualify is a bad word. We'll work with you at different time. So the next 2 weeks, starting Monday, going through till the following Friday, for 2 straight weeks, we've got time slots available for you to go to twenterprise.org, right there in front of you. You're going to go to the Contact Us portion of that tab. So if you just type in twenterprise.org, you'll go to Contact Us. You'll see Click to Schedule. When you click the schedule, it'll give you a time slot. There's 5 available each day. Please don't wait till the last day and try to slam us down with, having to accommodate 10 companies, because your failure to plan doesn't constitute an emergency on our part. So if you hesitate and you bow dangle, sorry, you're just not going to get the awesome feedback that myself and my colleague Dan has to offer you. So, which then will be apparent when you get in front of the Tech Scouts for your demonstration. So get in there, click schedule, select a day and time that works best for you. If nothing works for you, for whatever reason, something comes up, reach out to us. We'll try to work with everyone. We're not these big mean monsters, although we do portray those on TV. Wednesday nights coming this fall. But go in there, click continue. You'll get an email confirmation. You'll log into GoToMeeting is our preferred method. And if you haven't watched last week's, I encourage you to go back and watch last week's quick recap. I don't want you to talk about your product and say it's this great. I've got this great water bottle with all these superheroes on it, and it holds, it's about this big. I want you to literally go, that's my water bottle. It's got a name on it. It's got superheroes. It holds water and it disappears on Zoom. That's what we want. And we want to have a candid conversation. We want to try to give you feedback. Dan and I have over 42 years of combined military service, multiple deployments to every Krapistan you can think of. So vast knowledge in all genres, and we'll make sure that we give you enough. So this is not, we are not a lead-in per se to that Tech Scout. We're going to give you some recommendations of, does your product work and does it fit the warfighter's needs? And if something was really good, we'll tell you that. But we are not a practice per se for that Tech Scout demo. So do not confuse that. We're just there to give you the real down and dirty of, does your product work? Could there be changes made to make it better? I like using Alan's analogy that he brings up a lot is, can you make it in pink and mass produce it in that color or any other color? So we'll ask questions like that, and that's basically it. So please get in there. Right now, of the 38 or so that Bill talked, there's 7 of you who have already registered. So if that's you, give yourself a pat on the back. If you haven't registered, as soon as this is over, register. Get it. You got questions? Our email is twenterprise@wright, WRIGHT-research.org. Or if you just go on the website, there's our email on there. So if you forget nothing else, look at these slides. There it is. Reach out to us and we can arrange something. So that's it. Thank you for having me back, Alan. I'll hang out for a little bit and see if any questions pop up. Then I will probably drop off.
Okay, thank you, John. I appreciate it. We have John's contact information on this slide deck. So at the end of this presentation, after Gary, you'll have his contact information. These are also links, so you'll be able to take and link to this slide deck itself if you need to. You should have that information, so no problem there. Thank you, John. With that in mind, let's see.
We do have a couple of questions.
Oh yeah, thank you, Mindy. I noticed those. So someone asked, what branch does DefenseWorks are they associated with? They actually work across all the branches for DoD. They are their program is to basically help commercialize, and they're looking for specific needs, capability needs for their, as I call it, their clients, their customer. Whether that's Navy for a plane, for Navy, for anything. So they are very specific in their needs. The Tech Scouts are too, but the Tech Scouts are in most cases more broad-based, and their referral can go to someone like Brad at DefenseWorks. So getting DefenseWorks on board is a big deal. I'm not certain that he'll be in every pitch every day, or if he will be in the demo section every evening, but that's something that we're working with. He will be there and we'll see you. So we're trying to make sure you guys are aware of that. Let's see, the next question. Will Tech Warrior pitch be presented to the Tech Warrior staff, POs, or a combination of both? As far as I know, it's just with John and Dan. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, so ours is not necessarily pitch. Ours is more of a demonstration performance. If you want to go back to grade school simplicity, think of a show and tell. You're going to show us your device. You're going to tell us a little bit about it. We want to see it in action, give you feedback. But however, during the week of Encountering Innovation, as long as Alan will accept us, and I believe we've already kind of got this, we will sit in wherever we're best suited. So during the week, we will sit in and potentially listen to your pitches. So yes to both, as long as we don't get put in the corner and pushed out. So we'll be at your pitches live during Encounter Innovation. Our 2 weeks starting next on Monday is not a pitch. It's more of a show and tell demonstration performance.
Gotcha. So yeah, so consider John and Dan part of your team. They're here to help us. This I keep saying this, and Gary and his client are a good example of this. This is an extremely collaborative process all the way through, including the pitch. I don't like calling it a pitch, but that's what we call it. It's the best way to describe it. But this is the entire process is collaborative. This is not a Shark Tank. All right, so just a coming soon, remind you that the pitch prep training is coming soon. So just wanting to make sure you know what your steps, what you should be working on right now. With that in mind, I'm going to stop share, and Gary, you could take over. I want to welcome Gary and I'll let him introduce his client. Gary has been one of our statewide resources out of South Dakota and comes with an extensive background and a really cool team of processes and resources that he gets to talk to us about today. Gary?
Thank you very much, Alan. Let me see if I can actually figure out which one to push here. No. Okay, I think I got it up. So
you got it, again. Gary. I think you got it. You got it flipped. If you'll go up to display settings and swap it again.
Hang on.
No problem.
How do I remove this one?
Just go to the top at where it says display settings.
I have nothing at the top now.
On one of your screens, it should be on one of them.
Mindy? How am I going to get to?
It should be on the notes tab. It should be at the top. If you'd like, I can go ahead and pull it up on my side.
Let me just try this again. I think okay, you are sharing your screen. And I'll hit my presentation. Gee, we had this all figured out just a little bit ago. Display settings.
There we go.
We got it now?
Good.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for your patience. Again, Alan, thank you for inviting me to speak at Encountering Innovations. I first became exposed to this program 2 years ago. I proposed a company to present, and they had such a positive experience that we're going to do it again. So, again, I'm Gary Archambault. I am the SBIR office in South Dakota and have been for about 19 years. We do a bi-monthly newsletter. I do informational seminars. I work very closely with South Dakota EPSCoR. EPSCoR is the experimental program to stimulate competitive research run by the NSF. Now, most of the Plain states, I think, are part of this. Texas and Colorado probably aren't, if they're on today. But I also work very closely with the tech transfer offices at the universities. One of the things I do, I usually have proposal training workshops, at least 2 a year, usually university-based, just because a lot of my clients come out of the research area. And then we do one-on-one counseling all the way through the commercialization process here. So today, I really wanted to tell you a little bit about South Dakota's story and how things have progressed, and just to kind of share some of the things we've learned and some of the things that have worked out for us. So South Dakota has only won 175 SBIRs total in the 40 years of the program, right? So the good news is most of those wins are happening really in the last decade or so. So we're really picking up speed here. And so you got to ask what changed. Prior to 2003, South Dakota was what I would call a third world economic development. We tried to recruit mature industries from high-tech states. Our universities were teaching institutions, not research institutions. And if you wanted an advanced degree, you were basically told to leave the state, and few returned. In 2003, we got a new governor who understood that South Dakota couldn't compete with low-cost global labor, right? So you need to change the focus of your economic development program. And we had some great examples. If any of you have gone to football or basketball games and look up at the scoreboard, you'll see it says Daktronics. That's actually a spin-off from the South Dakota School of Mines or South Dakota State University, their electrical engineering department that has done, they've gone global. So we've also got Poet is the largest ethanol producer in the world. They built the Liberty plant, the only cellulosic ethanol plant that DOE helped to fund. So we've actually had some great successes in the past. So the governor kind of said, we can build a stronger economy, keep our best and brightest in the state. Let's move forward. So the Governor's Office of Economic Development, that's what GOED stands for, added a Director of Research and Commercialization. Now, that was a major step forward because this office came with a budget. We expanded our EPSCoR Reach Committee from 8, which was really the presidents and vice presidents of the research universities and me, and then the president of Daktronics. We expanded it to include 40 from industry, academia, government, and economic development. And we've always let industry be the chair and help manage this process. because we see it as an economic development process, not as an academic process or government process. And then this group was actually charged with writing the state's first science and technology plan, which really identified 5 target industries, recommended 19 new PhD programs and entrepreneurship degrees, governor's research centers, and that the state would come up with the needed match for large federal R&D programs like EPSCoR and NIH IDEA program. But a program does not create an ecosystem. So the South Dakota Chamber of Commerce and Industry stepped up and said, Governor, we'd like to fund a Giant Vision business plan competition. And this happened each year at the Governor's Economic Development Conference. It was kind of a side conference. It got so popular that students were allowed in, and then the big idea competition was created for high school students. And one of the huge successes, we've got the Calving Book App was actually written by a 16-year-old girl who lives in a town of 724 people. She showed the book. I don't know if any of you know the cattle industry well, but they actually track every calf that's born. There's really a lot more data collected than what you might imagine in cattle ranching. But they always used a analog method, the calving book. So they kept just a written record of what these cattle did. And this poor young lady was yelled at by her brothers and cousins and uncles and father, where's the calving book? And so it was her job to go find it. So she sat down and created one on her phone. And then she always had the calving book, and at one of her demonstrations said, it's so easy to use, even my stupid brothers can use it. So this young lady actually previewed this. She previewed it at a basketball game at the Fulton High School, and she got such a positive response that she went to the Cattlemen's Show in Rapid City. And the rest is history, as they say. You can get the calving app on Apple or Android. It's actually been sold in something like 30 countries around the world. There is now a Calving Book Pro. It's a yearly subscription service. And this young lady is now, I think, a junior at South Dakota State University in Ag Economics. So when it starts to work at the high school level, you know you've really got something. So we'll back up here just a second, but there were a lot of gaps along the way. How do you actually fill all of those gaps that we identified? And one of the first ones were talent and those new degrees. Anytime you have a new PhD program, you've got to have master's and undergraduate degrees feeding into that. So it really kind of started focusing some of our universities on producing exactly the kind of students we were looking for. We also started the Dakota Seeds internship program with an SBA FAST. It actually funds 50% of an internship, a STEM internship. And that's been picked up since by the State Department of Labor. We don't even have to ask for money anymore. They take care of the whole thing. And then we also trained up SBIR Innovation Fellows, which were masters and STEM advanced degree students that had an interest in commercializing technology. At the same time, the local economic development foundations built incubators and initiated training and assistance programs. And we had a group, Enterprise Institute, helped to form up one angel investment group, and then communities started asking them help us form. So now there are 6 of them across the state. They all love to, the economic development or the angel investor groups really came from the local economic development foundation, right? These are the fathers of the community. They're the ones that are willing to reinvest in the community. And what better than to grow some high-tech companies in your community. So, and they do work together to invest in things in South Dakota if it doesn't happen in their own community. So things really started catching fire when colleges and communities really started working together. You know, there's been a lot of stories out there that universities are engines of, are economic engines. And the South Dakota School of Mines is a terrific engineering school. They produce top-notch students. Rapid City Economic Development said, well, that's wonderful, but all of those students leave to go to work in Seattle or Boston or wherever. So there was kind of a challenge put out. The School of Mines developed this competitive entrepreneurial opportunities program, and the city fathers funded it. Training, it's a business plan training program. They do customer surveys. It's really a pretty complete. They get financial training from the SBDC, and School of Mines has a group of alums who make up their Entrepreneurs in Residence program. And so these entrepreneurs in residence actually get assigned to different teams of students to mentor them. And then, like I said, the city has actually came up with the prize money. And this has become so wildly successful. At this point, last year, I think the community put $40,000 into the program. That's quite a bit for a community to start shoving into a program. And they've actually have four other colleges, including Chadron State out of Chadron, Nebraska, participating. And different companies have stepped up and said, look, I want to fund the best high school project. So now all the high schools in Western South Dakota are invited. And another company stepped up and said, I want to fund the best ag product. It's a special award just for ag products. And last year, the winner of this student event received a $5,000 check from a company to build their prototype. And that wasn't even part of the prize money. It just happened spontaneously after the event. South Dakota School of Mines have actually just owned Student Giant Vision for several years now. And this has caused 3 competing research universities in their communities to all kind of get on board and say, we've got to do the same thing. So now this is catching fire across the state, and I can't wait to see what happens. Some quick examples of the things that have SBIRs that we've successfully commercialized in South Dakota. I always like to start with this Octaflex, because you'll notice it says Timber Lake, South Dakota. Timber Lake is 450 people, and it's on an Indian reservation. If SBIR can work in Timber Lake, it can work anywhere. So the story behind Octaflex, this is actually a crop duster who was worried about keeping running his crop dusting business when Clean Water Act came out, and he needed to create some kind of system that would collect where he could wash down his plane and his equipment. So again, he worked with the South Dakota School of Mines and Technologies, developed a real elegant little solution that you can drive onto and wash down your vehicle. The little pump clears all the particulates out, the nasty chemicals are isolated. This led to a ruling: you can't bring Army vehicles back into the United States without decontaminating them, basically invasive species. They don't want anything coming back that wasn't naturally in the US. So Octaflex stepped up and designed 2 systems, one for the Army, one for the Marines, and sold them. They sell them about a dozen units a year. Now, one of the unique things about this company, again, 450 people in Timber Lake, this created 10 new manufacturing jobs and a new manufacturing facility in Timber Lake. What do you suppose the impact is of $250,000 payroll in a town of 450? It's dramatic. So, but probably the coolest thing about this company, the 9/11 disaster site, engineers were stymied. How am I going to remove millions of tons of contaminated debris through the streets of New York? Within 2 weeks, Octaflex has designed and built and delivered 3 washdown systems that use fire hydrant water, fit in a lane restriction that New York gave them, and treated all the water and debris. 1,000 dump trucks a day went through this process, and the cleanup was enabled by a little company in South Dakota. I think that that's pretty amazing. They won the Tibbetts Award for that, which is the National SBIR Award. Okay, a couple of the other successes are sometimes startling to me. One of the recent successes, SAB Biotherapeutics, is developing a first-in-kind therapeutic engine where they have genetically modified cattle to produce human polyclonal antibodies. Most antibody production is monoclonal, which isn't what mammals make, and it's not very effective. Polyclonal antibodies is where you want to be. Now, when COVID broke out, their funding doubled overnight. And so they received another 36 million from DOD, 14 million from a Series B that included Merck. And I love the way they're promoting. They did out a press release, cows help COVID-19 treatment, no bull. So you can see they inject these cattle with virus, and the animal, instead of making a gram or 2 at a time like a mouse might, can produce liters. This is going to bring a whole new therapeutic area, and it's an interesting marriage of what South Dakota does well: animal husbandry and human health. So we're thrilled about this company. And that really brings us back to teaming universities with industries. For decades, or at least a decade, I tried to convince academics to become SBIR entrepreneurs. And any of you that have tried that, it's a tough sell. It's not their chosen career. They were never trained for it. So there's got to be a better way. We had 5 alums from SDSU form up an angel investor group. Actually, it's a management. I'm going to even call it an investor management group. They hired a tech manager and they started reviewing IP. They selected 8 technologies and formed a company up for each one of them. Put in 8 SBIR phase 1s and only 1 4. Natural whittling process. Two of those 4 went on to win not only a phase 2, but multiple SBIRs and multiple phase 2. And those are really their 2. Both of those have gone commercial at this point, MedGene and this Prairie Aquatech. Prairie Aquatech genetically modifies yeast to convert vegetable protein into high-value animal feeds, feed ingredients. They've won $5 million in SBIRs, raised $100 million to build their first pilot plant. And at this point, they're ready to embark. They realize that their state-of-the-art research facilities for protein conversion, animal vegetable protein conversion, works just as well for food as it does for feed. So they are embarking on an expansion of their mission. And then the last one I wanted to mention here before we get to David, VRC Metal Systems. It's a spinoff from School of Mines. The faculty member, like with all of the companies that have been formed up with industry partners, the faculty member remains the CTO. They are not given a major role. They don't have to leave their day job. Their main focus is write the experimental plan and provide the students to do the work. Identify the students that should be hired. So this cold spray technology is a unique. It spits out nanoparticles at supersonic speeds in a gas cloud, and it embeds into metals. And it's been fantastic for repairing anything from helicopter gears to submarines to the B-1 bomber. And they've actually found, they've had a phase 2E with Department of Energy, where they actually worked with a nuclear power plant in California and robotically repaired nuclear waste canisters. So you can see that this company is kind of on the leading edge. They've already grown to, I think, 75 people. I think they first got into SBIR in 2015, so it's been a pretty quick maturation for them. One of the reasons for that speed is they did take advantage of SBIR training and counseling. They did their financial projections with SBDC. They used the PTAC, international trade. The MEP is our manufacturing extension program. They were a giant vision winner. They used SBA loans. I mean, there's just nothing this group has not availed themselves of, including encountering innovations. So we sent them down there in 2018. They said they made a lot of great contacts, and they also sold one of their $300,000 systems on the spot to Wichita State. So that's a pretty good return on investment. And they're still, they made some great Navy contracts, and they have a brand new Navy contract that actually places them at 5 naval ports to be a service contractor. So we'll see how that grows out here. So secrets to success, really creating a competitive team is number one. I have worked with academics, and a lot of our early SBIRs were successful at phase 1 and phase 2, but had no commercialization strategy really, or emphasis. So getting those, let academia do what it does, which is great research, and train up students, talent. But business needs to do what business does. They attended training and networking events. They communicated with the agency. I could say that over and over and over again. That may be the most important thing. Would you buy something from somebody who, would you buy $150,000 something or other from somebody that didn't say hello to you or introduce themselves? My gosh. Anyway, and then utilize agency and state resources wherever you can. All right, I think it's now time. I brought along one example. Advanced Remote Sensing is a new company in South Dakota. David Grunveld is the founder and CEO. David's actually a serial entrepreneur with SBIR experience. I'll let him tell his story. The company just formed up in 2018, but again, they have made use of the SBDC, PTAC, and SBIR programs. And you can see in 2019, they just kind of killed it. Won their NSF and USDA SBIRs, one Giant Vision, one Startup of the Year. I think he's up to 7 or 8 employees at this point. So, David, are you on the line, and are you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gary. And one thing I'd like to do is really sing Gary's praises, because he's a mentor. And all along in my relationship with Gary, Gary suggested me to do things, and I have done them, and that is in large part why I've had the successes that I have. I started out in 2011 with SBIR. I wrote a proposal for, I think I was told by the program manager at USDA that there was no way I could put it together in a week and a half and get it in. And did that, won a phase 1 to commercialize or at least a proof of concept for an idea that I had for it, using satellite data for evaluating irrigation requirements for crops. And we got a phase 2, we commercialized, and it sold to Monsanto in 2017. And after that, I thought, well, what am I going to do now? It wasn't that highly successful. because if you work with Monsanto, there are all kinds of ways of controlling the exit, and that's exactly what happened. So I thought, where shall I go? And I thought, South Dakota, it's a good place to retire if I want to do that, and if not, I can pony up some energy because the Aeros Data Center is there. The South Dakota State University that trains really top-notch students in engineering is there, and I can be close to farming, which was then a major interest of mine. Realizing one of the major problems for using satellite imagery, especially for agriculture, was the fact that the atmosphere causes all kinds of problems with the interpretation. So there had to be a method developed for that that was simple and a heck of a lot better than what existed. So that was my NSF proposal that I put in and won a phase 1. And at the same time, as I was waiting for the review of the NSF, put in a proposal for a USDA phase 1. We won both of those and were very successful in our first year, 2019, putting that together. I started the corporation in 2018 and was also able to bring in a former executive, the guy that ran probably the most important position, the division within the USDA Risk Management Agency that's responsible for crop insurance. He has joined our firm and is helping us get open doors for crop insurance products that are applications of the work from NSF that we've done. Currently, and this is what I'm hopeful to give a pitch on for the Encountering Innovation program, is for the satellite data correction algorithm that we've developed. They call it Simplified Method for Atmospheric Correction, SMAC, and it is so far superior to the what's available that's state of the art. Ours is going to become the state of the art. But there are some great ways that it could be used for defense, and I am interested in going to DARPA and getting some additional funding to actually take the program that we have and expand it so we can do one overpass calibration for satellites, as well as through time track the sensor drift that inevitably occurs in all satellites. So, you know, I'm looking, all of this would not have been possible without the ecosystem that Gary talked about with South Dakota. And from the very start, you know, there was the Governor's Office of Economic Development offered evergreen loans, and an evergreen loan is a loan that you take out that helps you to do a proof of concept for your technology. And if you're successful and you make money from it, then you have to pay the loan back. Otherwise, it doesn't end up penalizing you in the future for the risks that you took. And that's fabulous. So I availed myself of 2 of those to get the company started and rolling. And then the Governor's Office of Economic Development and the small business group within the state also put on the Governor's Giant Vision, which was a competition, business competition. And Gary urged me to get into that, and I did that, and it amazed me. Won on that. Initially, I had a concept for how to use both the NSF funding and the USDA funding in order to work together, and that whole concept, which I thought was kind of pie in the sky at the time, is actually what's happening, and it's kind of amazing me. And as long as I work hard, things are happening. So the ecosystem within South Dakota has been extremely important for supporting what I've been able to do, and I feel very grateful for having had that experience. And in comparison, the previous incarnation as an entrepreneur through the USDA SBIRs that I got, I launched the program in New Mexico, and there was absolutely nothing at the time, 2011 through, I guess I got the first SBIR in 2012 and began the commercialization process in 2014, sold the company in 2017. There was nothing available from the state of New Mexico, nothing, no support whatsoever, no real interest in entrepreneurship. So it amazes me just what a great place for starting a business the state of South Dakota is.
Well, thank you, David.
So
I guess you'll all be moving to
Sure.
South Dakota soon. Alan,
right.
I think that wraps us up, and you're still on mute.
So Mindy, I want to double check and see do we have any questions? I'd like to open up for questions for both Gary and for David, if someone has any questions for them first.
It looks like we have one, we have a couple of questions. I think the first one may have been answered. Could you elaborate on a success story stemming from a previous EI event?
So first, I was going to say, Gary, why don't you, that's what I was going to say. You kind of alluded to some of that a while ago.
Well, yeah, I think VRC is one of those great examples. I wasn't sure what to expect from Encountering Innovations, right? I hadn't been to the event, and you know, you always hope you're not steering a client down a blind alley. But like I said, they came out with actually a sale, plus a lot of great contacts that they've been following up on ever since. I mean, again, when they were VRC, right, is a spinoff from the School of Mines Chief Technology Officer, and it's a retired lieutenant colonel from the Air Force. So they were working only with the Air Force to begin with. But after Encountering Innovations, I think that's one of the things that opened up the Army and Navy and really got them noticed. And like I said, they've done well with SBIR, but there are a lot of other programs at the Defense Department beyond SBIR that can fund small businesses.
And the second question we got is, what is the job of a tech coach once assigned to a small business leading up to Encountering Innovation?
So Gary, that's probably mine.
I think that's yours. Yeah.
Okay. So for everyone, the tech coach is basically the SBDC business advisor. At one time we called them a tech advisor, and everyone seemed to get real technical about what does it take to be a tech advisor, how much SBIR training like this, how many times have you been to DC for training, how many people have you met, that kind of thing. The idea is really that the tech coach is someone that's coaching or working with the client to work with us. Going back to the previous question about can someone elaborate about the success, we are not a conference program. We are the Kansas Small Business Development Center Tech Innovation Program. So our job is to help commercialize clients in tech innovation. Mindy, I think we got something going on with some loud noise. I think, David, could you mute your line?
No, I was muted. I'm unmuted to answer.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, it just made a big noise there for a second. Okay, give me just a second, and we'll pull you right up. So the idea is, whenever you apply and begin working with us, if you haven't been a client of ours before, once you come online with us, you are in the Small Business Development Center program until you don't want to be assisted or bothered. Our job is paid for by the Small Business Administration, so it's a federal. The state program, in our case in Kansas, that's the Department of Commerce and their funding. That same funding is very similar in each state. And then our host institution, depending on where we're hosted. In our case, Bill and I are hosted out of our lead center, which is with Fort Hays State University. Our advisors are mostly in Regent universities. Some are in some community colleges, and in some cases, even Chamber of Commerce. So we are an economic development engine to assist you as a client. When you participate in the conference, our first objective is to attract DoD Tech Scouts, which then attract other programs and opportunities. The conference itself is the beginning of a long-term process engagement of opportunities. If you need this to be the home run, or you're going to go out of business, then you're probably going out of business, because this will not be a home run almost ever at the conference. That does not mean in our first pitch, the first morning of 2017, one of the tech scouts at the first break at 10 a.m. called the general and came back in and said, that has now been passed on. One of the pitches had been passed on for their technology immediately. So it can happen that fast, but that is extremely minimal. What we want you to understand is this is a long-term engagement. We do not make money off of the conference. This is not our job to build this big conference for just the conference sake. It is to attract innovators and those that need those innovations. And that's the beginning. We are learning. Brad Chedister with DefenseWorks is a good example of that. And SBIR, we're trying to blow up the opportunities of SBIR. They are not the only thing, but we want to get better at understanding SBIR opportunities. And Gary has done an excellent job today. I hope our Department of Commerce in Kansas hears this. I know they may not be on right now, but that they will hear this in its recording and listen to what Gary's doing. Our Department of Commerce is really picking up and putting things together, trying to pull us together to where we're more cohesive. And Gary did a great job of that. We're doing that with multiple states as well, which is what we're trying to do.
I would just add something, Alan, if I could, just specifically about the tech coaches even. One of the reasons that we want to have tech coaches like Gary is because they are local. You can work with them locally. In general, sometimes we have tech coaches that are from out of state, but from companies that are out of state that we work with too. We work with a lot of them, but we try, what Alan and Vicki and I try and do is to work with the tech coach and help them, especially to understand who this audience is. It's called Tech Scout. And what are they thinking? What are they looking for? What do they not want to hear? And so that you can get the best overlap out of that. And once your tech coach knows that, just think of them as an advisor that happens to be helping you with technical things. Once they know who that audience is, then they look at that and say, well, is that what this is? Is that what these documents are communicating? Is that what we're really helping to do? When you pitch, are you pitching to the right audience? Are you pitching to a sales audience or to a venture capital audience instead of the right audience? So that's what we try and do. So we try and work with the local advisor who will be tech coaching you through the process, and then working with you on an ongoing basis later too.
So we do have question from somebody who wants to know, it says, we are from Texas. If we need to get some help from the Kansas office, are we able to do that, or do we need to go through Texas?
So I think I know who that is. We definitely want to help, but we also want to encourage you to be working. I've been working with Bijo and Monique and his team. We encourage you to continue to work with Bijo as closely as you can, but no one needs to feel like if they can't get an answer or they want something that they can't reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We're all working together, so that should not be a problem.
And I'd just like to chime in. One of the reasons I recommended that VRC go to Kansas for this event for Encountering Innovations is South Dakota does not have enough projects on its own to attract the tech or the DOD to come here and talk to us. But if all of our states get together, now all of a sudden we have enough bandwidth and enough interesting projects to get them here. So
yeah.
That's true.
And that's exactly why we're teaming together now, the same way with Kansas. David, you started to answer one of the questions. I don't want to run over this and leave you in the dirt there. So could you speak up?
What specifically about? Sorry.
Well, you started to answer one of the two questions a while ago, or at least you said you did.
Okay.
I think it was on the,
Okay.
maybe it was about the time someone said, could you give us an example? I don't know that you have the example, but the example of success with encountering innovation. That was about the time you started to speak up.
No, I look to encountering innovation for some success because I'm going after DARPA, and I'm hopeful that they have somebody there that really pays attention and has the time that they can really listen to a pitch. So
Gotcha.
it's a
Well,
future.
good. So some other examples we have, we've had several. Some of the easiest ones are almost what David just said, is when you know who you're looking for, then if you can answer to them, you probably you can get that handoff. The contact and the referral is the strongest part of what happens. That's probably one of the first things that we are able to see economic impact over. The second thing is understanding this is a collaborative event. If you are interested in working with anyone in the federal government to sell a service or a product, then getting to those representatives of who your customer would be, the sooner you get to them, the better off you are. Hence the reason Tech Warrior Enterprise is involved in our program. They are here to give you good, positive feedback, not to pat you on the back, but give you good feedback that can help assist you. If you're here to sell a specific device, if you're here saying, this is what I have and this is it, I will not innovate it any further, I will not change it, then come and sell it. If someone buys it, great. If they don't, then leave. On the other hand, if you're here and you go, I've got this great technology, this is the focus. What I want to know is, how does this device work? How would this device work best for you, Army, for you, Air Force? What could we do to make this integrate better on your tank or in whatever that is? If you're innovating and you're looking to move into whatever they need in a collaborative fashion, then you've got steps to go, and there's good opportunity ahead for you. But if you go, I can't innovate anymore, I can't move, I can't alter my approach, I'm done, then that's what we're trying to help you understand. That's what the GSA is about. If you've got a device, stick it out there and let somebody buy it. If you're here to innovate and to collaborate, this program and what goes beyond it is for you.
So we do have one more question. If we have foreign nationals, especially ex-high-level government officials, as advisors and investors, would that impact chances of approval?
Bill, that may be, Gary, you look like you wanting to chime in. You got a thought there?
Yeah, I can say, I mean, SBIR requires that 50%, a minimum of 51% ownership is U.S. So depending on, it isn't a matter that you can't have, the work needs to be done in the U.S. The company must be majority U.S. owned. So those are kind of your limitations. David has multiple foreign nationals working on his project because there's a lot of foreign nationals that go to our universities that come out and need jobs. So yeah, that's not a drawback. It's an ownership issue, ownership and control issue.
Gotcha.
I would also add too that you have to watch some of the solicitations are ITAR restricted, then it is an issue. We actually ran into, in my company, my engineering company, we actually ran into a situation where we won the award from Missile Defense. We were partnering with the university, and the professor just kind of offhandedly, just before he started, he said, by the way, he said, everybody that works for me is foreign nationals. Is that a problem? And I was like, oh my goodness, yes, because it's ITAR restricted. And it cost us several months to get that all worked out. And he ended up doing it on nights and weekends himself because he couldn't have his personnel work on it. So you just have to be aware of those kind of issues and be upfront about them, even in your proposal, so you're not hiding anything.
Good answers. Thank you, guys. I'm going to ask you, Mindy, do you see any, I don't see any other questions or chats. Am I missing anything, or is that it?
I think that's it.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share my screen for a second because I need to go back and point some things out. So give me just a second. All right. So reminding you, if you haven't, sign up your demo. If you end up poster boarding and you sign up and you get in, great. The sooner you get in for next week, because next week's kind of like radio. You can't sell air on radio that has passed today. Nobody's going to buy this morning's ad slot that went unscheduled. So get scheduled as soon as you can. If we know you're a poster board and we haven't told you, then you sign up. Worst case scenario is you may get delayed. But honestly, we're trying to get everybody through, poster board or not. John's being very gracious to work with everyone. So just get signed up. We're just trying to help you understand that next week's going to come and go, and we're going to miss slots, and people are going to back up, and we're going to have space not available for everyone. So the sooner you can get in, this is a collaborative event. They're there to be your teammate, to help you, not to judge you and go, well, you weren't prepared. I'm putting 2 demerits in your name.
And yeah, and just get in there. They will give you good feedback. If it turns out you end up being, we probably, for the first part of next week, we won't know for sure. Well, we have a list of those that are pitching for sure, but some of the ones that are not, we're not sure about, just go ahead and sign up and go through. You'll get valuable information from them anyway. And if they've got the time to work with you, if you find out later on you're a poster, that doesn't really matter.
So we've got a couple of questions that I want to try to address. Barbara from Oklahoma is asking us about the edited documents. Barbara, we've been so much into intake and getting things set up, we don't have a schedule for that yet. I would say that the beginning of, by the end of next week, Friday, those should start coming back in, because the catch is Bill will be is heavily involved in judging matching and TRL to where we have a hierarchy. And then second of all, because of Brad Chaddister and DefenseWorks, we are working very hard to try to do an in-reach for Thursday as our what we call EI 2.0, where we've got clients, those that best match that may have been in the previous 3 years, that best match for Thursday. Because of that, we're still in a qualifying and intake mode. But next Friday would be the beginning of trying to get setting up documents to start getting them back. I misspoke earlier when I said that we had, sorry, I'm flipping through this quickly and we get there. I said that you had all 4 documents. We have produced all 4 documents. You've been sent your quad chart and your information paper. We want to work those 2 editings to Barbara's question. We want to get those edited as best we can to send out the pitch deck and poster board. But those 2 have been produced. So if you're ready and you feel like you're complete, please let us know as we move forward. That will be the next stage, is getting your pitch deck and your poster board out to you. Yeah. So great question. Yeah, Bill.
If there's a document that goes out with those called the general instructions, and that explains pretty well why that's so important. If you spend your time on the quad chart, really thinking through, that kind of outlines what you think is most important to say to the tech scouts. Your information and paper repeats it, your pitch deck repeats it, your poster board repeats, that in different forms, but the general points, you really need to start on your quad chart and really think that through well with your tech coach and make sure that it talks and says what you want it to say, and the rest of this will all fall out pretty easily.
So with that in mind, the next thing we want to remind people as far as editing these documents, Brett Sheringhausen called me yesterday from US CENTCOM, and he said, please remind everyone that this is about the warfighter. So in his statement, and as I feel his frustration, I have seen from New York, when I was sitting in on the first program, people talking about the world's problems. and people talking about this opportunity and it having nothing to do with the DOD. If you don't have a clue, make sure Bill knows you don't have a clue, and that's what he's working so hard on, is this matching. If we don't see a match, he's going to put those in I don't see a match, possible for a wild card. The ones that we have an idea that there's a wild card, we don't see the match, but we see the opportunity there, we will pass those forward. If we don't see a match and we honestly are not certain, that and lower TRLs are what put you at poster board. That does not mean you're relegated as a subclass citizen. That means what we're trying to do is put you in a position to where the poster board opportunities can be presented in a way that the Tech Scout wants to see more. If you're not ready to pitch and you have a disconnect there, your poster board really doesn't matter. On the other hand, if you poster board and you're not ready to pitch and you don't know what the connection is, you allow the Tech Scout to be your collaborator to say, you know where I think this fits best? You have that conversation, then you have an opportunity to pitch. Our Tech Scouts do not want to see the same innovation exactly the same year after year. They're like, we've seen this before. What are you telling me new? It's the same glass, but I washed it. That irritates them. They've got limited time as well. So we're trying to give you the best opportunity at the best time. If you're a poster board, that's okay. You're still getting opportunity, which is why all these documents need to be completed. Second part, we have a question on the quad chart. It says pertaining to quad development, what is the level of detail for the drawings required? And Bill, I'm going to kind of toss this up to you. The point here, folks, is you're not trying to sell someone on your innovation as an innovator or an inventor to show them all the detail of your invention. This is all about benefit. John with Tech Warrior said a while ago, he said, as Alan says, how big, how small, how fast, how slow, what color. So these are things that if you don't know, you need to be prepared for. We've got a client this year that's coming in that I saw in New York that's going to be here this year with us. And they asked him, how small can you make this engine? And he quickly said the size of a nickel. He had the answer ready, and they made note of it, and I now know why, but I didn't at the time. Those are the things that you need in your drawing, if anything, that I see. With that in mind, I'm going to turn over to Bill. Well,
The main thing to remember is that the Tech Scouts they're focused on the warfighter, like Alan said, at least for the DoD Tech Scouts, and what it will do, not how it does it. So a lot of intellectual property is mostly tied up in how does it do it. You know, a UAV can fly and it can perform maneuvers that no other drone can do. How you do that is up to you. The fact that you can do it is very important to them. And how does that enhance it? That means that it can do random maneuvers as it's flying from point A to point B in a way that nobody else can. And it's really, really difficult to interfere with what it's doing. You may not even know what it's doing. It's things like that. So you don't necessarily have to put a lot of detail in it, but show them what it does, what it can do, and if you can have a picture of some sort of what it looks like, or what something that it enhances, you know, you look at that and say, okay, I could get a visual of what it would do.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bill. We are running tight on time because I want to point out something to you. Two things. Number one, this just in, our pitch prep training, Texas and Oklahoma. If you're in Texas or Oklahoma, check with your host, Bijo with Texas and Barbara Bonner in Oklahoma. They're setting up their own pitch practices. We will do our best to try to attend some of those, but they know what they're doing. They're very seasoned at what they're doing there. So you don't have to have us there to trust that they know what they're talking about. We are hosting all others are trying to. We have 2 days set up right now, compliments of our great host, Johnson County Community College and Jack Harwell has set up 2 days, Thursday and Friday, August 27th and 28th. You can click on this link to get there, this pitch practice sign up. So when we send out the PowerPoint, that will be there and you can go ahead and sign up for your pitch practice. So just letting you know that. And then second of all, if you haven't applied, we're close to limit, if not over already. Once we go through and do the DefenseWorks review, we've held a few slots out there. So if you haven't applied and you're thinking about it, you better get it in because you're probably close to being too late, if not already. I want to remind everyone that we've got new programs coming in the weeks to come. I've told you about those. I'm not going to go through those again because we're kind of in overtime. What I do want to help you understand is that we are starting a deep dive SBIR training. It just happens to be right behind this one. So think of this as best way I could say it, SBIR 101 and SBIR 201. I don't want to insult any of us that have been part of the 101 trainings. What we're trying to do is a deeper dive. This training is focused on training our tech coaches and our SBDC advisors, but right now we're being able to open it up. So if you want to go into the deep dive training, you're more than welcome to. I have given, I've shown the registration link here. You won't get it in time, I don't believe, for us to be able to send it to you to join today live. Yes.
I did put it, if everyone looks in the chat box, I did put the link to register for today's. So it is.
Great. Thank you, Mindy. Okay, so it's in your chat box. If you want to go to it, today is Laurie Moncrief, DefenseWorks, or I'm sorry, excuse me, I misspoke. The former executive director of DefenseWorks. She has set up her own program called Reset. She, from her past, has pulled together a really good list of speakers and presenters and trainers over the next few weeks. Today, she's got a gentleman, an attorney out of Washington, D.C. I want to say his name's John. I forgot his last name. I don't have it in front of me. But they'll be on in just a few minutes at 1:30, just immediately following this. So we're going to sign off now because we got to flip to that presentation. But I do appreciate Gary, you and David. We thank you for being teammates. And you know what? Together, we're going to do some cool stuff. I appreciate all of our innovators being here and our teammates from the other states. All right, Mindy, I'm going to hang up or get off, but I know for chat purposes, I may need to hang on for a second. But I'll sign back on in the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll leave this chat up for just a couple more minutes so you guys get a chance to click on it and register. But it's not in your Q&A, it's in the chat box. So be sure to check the chat and you should be able to get that link to register.
Great. Thanks again, Gary. You guys take care.